He speaks Common and Abyssal.
The language is unknown to him as well.
I'm going
And
to
he
write
says,
this down. Make a note. Common and Abyssal.
He goes, I don't recognize the language, and it's written, well, as far as I can tell, in a cipher, so once you know the language, it might help, but as of right now, not gonna know.
Okay.
And then he crawls back through your eye hole back into your skull.
See, a genius. There are many. I'll get very close to Jupiter, and I'll say there are many powers one could learn, but not from a god.
He just goes back to staring at the fireplace.
Does your religion let you keep rats living in your head? I mean, mice.
So he is a rat.
Shut up!
You hear from the other side of the house.
Stomp on the ground. Shut up, Mars.
He just ignores you and continues to stare at the fire.
Well. Where should we go next, I wonder?
Hugo's just been tinkering with something.
Jupiter, if your wife did come back in a twisted state, an unnatural state of undeath, more sophisticated than your common skeleton and zombie, what would you do? How would you feel?
He kind of leans back in his chair and says, I doubt she's ever coming back. Whatever happened, I don't know. And he looks he looks saddened for the first time. His rough demeanor is kind of dropped, but he kind of straightens himself out and says, whatever happens, happens.
So you did love her?
She grew on me.
She grew on you like a tumor or a fungus. And you learned to love the disease.
He just kind of ignores you again. He seems like he's already resigned to his fate. He doesn't need any more.
Well, no matter. We'll figure this out. Let us pray. You'd know a thing or two about that. That this does not come back to bite you, whatever she did. Let's hope that the state in which we found her was her final state, and that something else doesn't come from this. I've heard tales on many distant winds that vampirism requires a very set of circumstances to be enacted to the body and subsequent corpse of the individual wanting to achieve true vampirism. I don't think that's what happened, but it's not out of the ballpark for something along those lines to have transpired. I'm not saying she's a vampire, but something could have happened. I'm not quite sure.
Hugo just shouts from the other room, she might have been trying to become a lich.
She could have been trying to become a lich. That is very true. But interesting. Fascinating. Jupiter, I have another question for you.
He just like cocks his head and stares at you and says, "You're full of questions."
I'm full of questions. I'm very curious. Me and my compatriots have done you a service in exterminating the infestation in your home, and we would love to have some compensation. Is there anything in this house that could aid us in our goals. I'm not asking for money or jewels or fineries, but a man of your stature and your wife of some renown possibly possessed certain objects of power that could aid us in our endeavors.
Make a persuasion check.
30.
He goes, "You've taken all my relics and my antiquities. There's nothing left for you to pilfer."
Is he lying?
Make an insight check. Oh, your passive
I
at 20?
It was 20, yeah.
He's telling the truth. You took his ring. You took his sword. You get the idea that if there is something here, he might not know about it. That might have been something Mars' mother may have known. He was more, especially since he had been disconnected from his god.
He's the muscle.
He's just, yeah, exactly. He's just the muscle.
Muscle.
He's the brains and the muscle, but his wife was the orchestrator, and she was in charge of like the finances and stuff like that.
She was the puppet master.
Somewhat.
Yes. Well, Jupiter, this ring that I'm going to have it on my finger.
You turn invisible.
Ring, huh?
You turn invisible.
Oh no! So I can wear it. Without turning invisible.
Okay, I was under the impression that once you put it on, it just happens.
Yeah, no. While wearing it, you can turn invisible as an action.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not like Sauron's ring, where the moment I put it on, I'm in the ethereal plane. No.
Okay.
It's just that because I have to be attuned to it as well. I don't think it's been enough time for me to attune.
No,
to
you're
it.
not attuned to it. That is correct.
Yeah.
So you don't turn invisible, but you know what it does.
I'll wear it and be like, it's very lovely, Jupiter. But I do have another question for you.
Just ask away.
This is just between you and me. What happens if we're all incorrect and Juno isn't dead? Well, she hasn't been vanquished, so to say. And she does return in what wretched, vile, hellish, undead state she finds herself in. What if she comes after you? Would you be willing to be slain by her hand, or would you seek protection and asylum?
For a moment, you actually get him thinking, and you can see the gears turning in his head. And eventually, he just kind of looks at you and says, "I'm resigned to my fate. If all goes as you plan, I'll be excommunicated, perhaps even sentenced to death. So, what do I have to fear of my wife coming back to me?"
She could raise you as an undead thrall.
How ironic.
Truly. Truly. But if you could have a say in the matter to escape that potential fate, would you?
He goes, I don't think of myself as someone who'd want to be an undead thrall. But I'd be dead, so why would it matter to me? I'd be on to the afterlife, possibly reincarnated, possibly sent to the 9 hells. Who knows? I've done enough.
Possibly, unless whatever she revives you as is still tethered to your very being in some degree, preventing you from truly moving on. But you've sedated so plainly and clearly that you would resign to this fate. An honorable decision. Well, if I have any other questions, Jupiter, I will ensure myself that I will come back and ask you.
He goes, I don't think I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
That's fine.
And he goes back to sitting in front of the fire.
Okay.
And at this point, Mars Tulpa comes to you with maybe a 2-page letter, and he goes, do you wish me to send this immediately? I mean, it will take a few days to arrive, and it'll take a number of days for them to dispatch anyone, but I don't think your father's going anywhere.
Yes, it should be fine, and we have plenty of time.
He goes, excellent. I'll rush into town and deliver it as quickly as I can. And you see him throw on a jacket and head out into the storm.
Thank you once again, Tupa. Your service is Your services have been one of the few comforts that my parents have been able to provide me.
He does a deep bow and he says, I live to serve. And he disappears into the rain.
Should we even be making our way
Making our way where?
anywhere?
Well, don't we have to stay and explain the situation to the order?
Yes, it probably wouldn't be very wise to just leave my father alone either.
Well, he can't leave that room. It could take days for these people to arrive.
Well, he could try killing himself by leaving the room.
I mean, he could, but again, he could do that.
Well, if you recall, you changed the Gios from stay in the room to live. So he most likely won't be trying to take his own life anytime soon. But that does mean if you leave him alone, he could easily escape.